The dog won't let you leave service dog bit biker's tire. What they found in Saddlebag. Called 911, service dog Max refuses to let biker leave roadside diner parking lot. Bites tire. Won't release. Handler discovers kidnapped child hidden in motorcycle saddlebag unconscious, drugged, zip-tied. Dog trained to detect distress pheromones recognized victim. Sometimes, service dogs stop traffickers adults ignore. Sometimes tire biting prevents kidnapping. Sometimes golden retrievers save children by refusing to let evil leave. The Sunrise Diner sat off Interstate 5 just north of Portland, the kind of truck stop that served coffee 24/7 and never questioned why travelers needed pancakes at 3 a.m. Its parking lot was half empty this Wednesday afternoon, scattered big rigs, a few cars, 2 motorcycles near the entrance. Rain had stopped an hour ago, leaving pavement slick and reflective, puddles catching autumn sunlight that broke through clouds like spotlights on a stage nobody wanted to perform on. 11-year-old Zoe Mitchell sat at a booth by the window, finishing homework while her mother Sarah worked the late lunch shift. She came here after school 3 days a week, father deployed overseas, mother working double shifts to keep their small apartment. She did algebra at this booth, sketched in margins while truckers ate meatloaf and travelers ordered coffee. They didn't need just to rest somewhere that wasn't a car. Beside the booth lay Max, a 3-year-old golden retriever wearing a service dog vest declaring medical alert dog. Do not pet. Max belonged to Jake Henderson, a trucker with type 1 diabetes, who stopped here every Wednesday for late lunch before his Portland to Seattle run. Jake was Zoe's friend, teaching her about CB radio codes and trucking routes, filling the uncle-shaped gap her father's deployment had created, showing her photos of his own daughter who'd be 16 now if she'd lived long enough. Max was Zoe's favorite part of these visits. Calm, professional, trained to detect when Jake's blood sugar dropped dangerously and alert him before seizures occurred. Max was exemplary service dog, ADA certified, trained 18 months at Pacific Service Dogs, evaluated quarterly to maintain certification. He ignored other diners, didn't beg for food, stayed focused on Jake's health markers with the intensity that separated working dogs from pets. Golden Retrievers made excellent service dogs because of their temperament, friendly but professional, social but focused, naturally attuned to human emotional and physiological states. But Max had additional training Zoe didn't know about. Jake had paid extra for trauma detection certification, training Max to recognize fear pheromones, stress hormones, distress signals that trafficking victims emitted. Jake had lost his daughter Emma to trafficking 5 years ago, never recovered, never found, presumed dead. He'd trained Max, hoping that someday, somehow, his dog might detect what police investigations couldn't, might save a child the way Jake hadn't been able to save his own. A biker walked into the parking lot from the restroom, mid-30s, leather vest without club patches, unremarkable, except for the way he moved too carefully, checked surroundings too often, projected tension that didn't match a casual diner stop. He headed toward a Harley-Davidson parked near the entrance, large leather saddlebag strapped to the sides, bike positioned for quick exit rather than convenient parking. Max's head snapped up, his ears pricked forward. His body went rigid, not the relaxed alertness of normal vigilance, but the tense focus of detection. Something was wrong. Max's nostrils flared, processing air molecules, identifying chemical signals that triggered training Jake had paid thousands of dollars to install. Fear, trauma, distress, coming from the motorcycle. Max stood, pulled toward the window with leash tension that made Jake look up from his coffee. "Max, what's wrong, buddy?" Jake checked his glucose monitor, normal levels. No blood sugar emergency. Max wasn't alerting to Jake's health. Max was alerting to something else. The biker reached his motorcycle, started unlocking Saddlebag, preparing to leave. Max lunged. Pulled free from leash Jake had loosely wrapped around table leg, bolted toward the diner exit with the single-minded intensity of working dog executing trained response. "Max!" Jake scrambled after him, confused and alarmed. Service dogs didn't break training, didn't abandon handlers, didn't run unless something catastrophically wrong triggered protocols Jake didn't fully understand. Max burst through the automatic door and sprinted across parking lot toward the motorcycle. The biker had mounted his bike, engine rumbling, ready to merge onto highway and disappear into afternoon traffic. Max reached the rear tire and bit down. Hard, teeth sinking into rubber, jaw locked, entire body braced against 65 pounds of determination that transformed friendly golden retriever into immovable obstacle. "What the hell? Get your dog off my bike now!" The biker revved engine, tried moving forward. Tire held. Max's bite created enough resistance that attempting to drive would damage the motorcycle. "Get him off or I'm calling the cops." Jake reached them, breathing hard, confused by Max's behavior, but trusting training he'd paid professionals to install. "Max, release." The command usually worked instantly. Max ignored him. "Max, release." Max held the tire, growling a sound Jake had never heard from his dog, a sound that indicated threat detection, protection mode, something so wrong that professional training said, "Don't let this vehicle leave." Zoe appeared beside Jake, having followed Max out of protective instinct and curiosity that 11-year-olds possessed. Sarah was right behind her, worried about her daughter, confused about commotion. Other diners emerged, truckers who'd seen the dog sprint out, who understood something serious was happening because service dogs didn't act erratically without cause. "Your dog is crazy. Get him off my bike or I'm calling the cops." The biker's voice had edge now, panic creeping through anger, fear that didn't match inconvenience of dog-biting tire. "Max detects distress," Jake said slowly, understanding dawning. "He's trained to alert to fear pheromones, trauma markers, signals that victims emit. If he's not releasing, if he's this focused..." Jake looked at the saddlebags. "What's in there?" "None of your business. Camping gear, personal stuff. Nothing that gives you right to sick your dog on my property." But Max's body language said otherwise. Ears pinned back, hackles raised along spine, jaw locked on tire with determination that spoke to threat assessment. "This vehicle contains danger. This vehicle must not leave. Handler must investigate." Jake reached toward the saddlebag. The biker swung leg off bike, physically blocking access. "Touch my stuff and I'll sue you for everything. That's illegal search. You're not cops. Back off." "Then we call cops. Have them search legally. If it's just camping gear like you say, no problem. But my dog's never acted like this. Never. And his training cost $20,000 specifically to detect traffic." Jake stopped, looked at the biker's face, saw recognition, saw guilt, saw panic. The biker tried to run, tried to abandon the motorcycle and sprint across parking lot toward highway. Didn't make it 10 feet before a trucker, 6'4", 250 pounds of protective instinct triggered by phrase "detect trafficking," tackled him to wet pavement. "What's in the bag?" The trucker had the biker pinned, knee on back, using weight and military training to immobilize someone who just revealed himself as threat through his attempt to flee. Sarah pulled Zoe back, protective mother instinct overriding everything else. Jake moved toward the saddlebag with shaking hands, not wanting to find what Max's behavior suggested, desperately needing to check because ignoring trained alerts meant potential victim remained in danger. He opened the left saddlebag. Camping gear, tent, sleeping bag, camp stove, legitimate contents. The right saddlebag zipper caught. Jake forced it, metal teeth releasing with sound like tearing fabric, like opening something that should have stayed closed. The zipper gave way and Jake's hands froze. First he saw small wrists zip-tied so tight the plastic had cut into skin, leaving angry red marks against pale flesh. Then dark hair matted with sweat and something chemical. Then duct tape, silver, and obscene across a small mouth. Then the shallow rise and fall of a chest too small to be fighting this hard to breathe. The smell hit him chloroform sharp and wrong, fear sweat with its distinctive acid tang, the scent Max had detected from inside the diner through glass from 40 feet away. A child, 7, maybe 8, drugged, bound, curled like she was trying to make herself smaller, trying to disappear into a space that had already swallowed her whole. Jake's stomach dropped. Deja vu crashed over him, Emma's face superimposed over this girl's, 5 years collapsing into this moment, all the times he'd imagined finding his daughter exactly like this, unconscious and bound and barely alive. "Oh my God," his voice broke. "Call 911 now. There's a child in here, kidnapped, drugged. Call 911 right now." Sarah already had her phone out, fingers shaking as she dialed. 911, what's your emergency? Sunrise Diner off I-5, mile marker 287. We found a kidnapped child, hidden in motorcycle saddlebag, unconscious, breathing but unresponsive. Suspect is restrained. Send ambulance, police, everyone, now. The biker screamed, "She's mine, my daughter, family issue, none of your business. You're kidnapping her from me." "Your daughter who's unconscious and zip-tied?" The trucker applied more pressure. "Try again." Zoe was watching the girl's face, the part visible around duct tape. Recognition dawned. That's Lily Chen from Madison Elementary. She went missing yesterday. Her picture's on Amber Alert posters all over school. Zoe pulled out her phone, showed the Amber Alert notification every Portland area phone had received 18 hours ago. Photo matched. 7-year-old Lily Chen, abducted from schoolyard Tuesday afternoon. Jake carefully lifted Lily from the saddlebag, checking breathing, checking pulse, supporting her head the way his first aid training had taught him. She's alive. Pulse is weak, breathing shallow, definitely drugged, needs immediate medical attention. Max had released the tire finally, mission accomplished, vehicle stopped, victim discovered. He moved to sit beside Lily, protective stance, alerting to distress pheromones that still emanated from the unconscious child. This was what Max had been trained for. This was why Jake had paid for trauma detection certification. This was the nightmare Jake had lived through when his own daughter vanished. Except this time, this child, they'd found her in time. 5 years ago, my daughter Emma was trafficked. Jake's voice was quiet, intense, talking while waiting for sirens that seemed impossibly far away. She was 12, vanished from mall parking lot, never found. Portland PD investigated, FBI investigated, nothing. She's presumed dead. His voice broke. I couldn't save Emma, but I could train my dog to detect what I missed. Max cost $20,000 because standard service dog training plus trafficking victim detection training isn't standard. But I paid it, because if Max could save one child, just one, it would mean Emma's loss mattered. That something good came from something horrific. Sarah was crying, holding Zoe close. The trucker maintained position on the suspect, who'd stopped struggling, stopped protesting, gone silent with the defeat of someone who knew their crime was exposed. The biker's wallet held California licensed Daniel Morrison, 38, registered sex offender, multiple priors for child endangerment, prohibited from being within 500 feet of schools or playgrounds. His motorcycle had out-of-state plates. His saddlebags contained zip ties, duct tape, chloroform-soaked rag, burner phones, and documents suggesting this wasn't his first abduction. Portland police and paramedics arrived simultaneously 6 minutes after Sarah's call. Detective Sarah Chen, who handled every major child case in Portland, emerged from patrol car with grim efficiency. Lily Chen's abduction had triggered massive search effort FBI, Amber Alert, media coverage. Finding her alive 18 hours later was miracle. Who found her? Chen's voice was professional, controlled, but her eyes revealed relief. My service dog. Jake gestured at Max. He's trained to detect distress pheromones. He bit the motorcycle tire, wouldn't let the suspect leave. We investigated. Found Lily in the saddlebag. Chen knelt beside Max, looked at his service dog vest, understanding what she was seeing. Trauma detection training, Pacific Service Dogs program. I've heard about this, never seen it actually used in field. She looked at Jake. Your dog just saved this child's life and potentially stopped serial trafficker. Morrison's been on FBI watch list for months. Multiple suspected abductions, zero evidence. Until now. FBI arrived Agent Rodriguez, who handled Pacific Northwest trafficking cases. She examined Morrison's motorcycle, documented evidence, moved with methodical intensity. Morrison, in federal holding 3 hours later, refused to cooperate initially. Then Detective Chen showed him a photo. Lily Chen with her parents at the hospital, alive, smiling, wrapped in blankets. She's fine. She'll testify. Your operation is done. 12 arrests already based on your phones. But you can still help yourself. Give us web, give us the network locations, and maybe you see daylight before you're 90. Morrison looked at the photo long time. Something flickered in his eyes, not remorse exactly, but calculation, self-preservation. Webb won't stop. He's coming for the trucker and the dog. Said it's personal now. Said he's going to eliminate the problem before it testifies, before it finds more kids, before it costs us more money. You want Webb? Use Henderson as bait. Webb will come. That's when Chen made the call that would change everything. 3 days after Lily's rescue, Jake received call while making his Seattle run. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Henderson, this is Detective Chen. We have a problem. Morrison had a partner we didn't catch initially, Marcus Webb. He's been making threats, says you and your dog ruined his operation, says he's going to eliminate the problem. We're taking this seriously. Webb has violent history, weapons charges, demonstrated willingness to retaliate against witnesses. We need you in protective custody until we locate him. Jake's blood went cold. For how long? Could be days, could be weeks. We're working every lead. But Webb is dangerous, motivated, and specifically targeting you because Max's detection exposed their network. He blames you for 12 arrests, for losing revenue stream worth millions annually. He specifically mentioned putting down the dog that ruined everything. That's a credible death threat against both of you. Jake thought about Emma, about 5 years of wondering if she'd suffered before she died, about the closure he'd never gotten, about the fact that saving Lily had made him visible in ways that put him in danger. What about Max? What about Zoe and Sarah at the diner? If Webb is targeting people connected to the case, we're providing protection for everyone involved, but your primary target, you and Max. We're treating this as credible conspiracy to commit murder. Jake had 2 choices: go into protective custody, wait for FBI to find Webb, live in a safe house indefinitely while his life stopped, or continue his route, act as bait, help draw Webb out where law enforcement could capture him. The first option was safe, smart, recommended by every professional who'd ever worked witness protection. The second option was what Emma would have wanted, what she would have done if their positions were reversed. Emma had always been brave, recklessly so, challenging authority, standing up for vulnerable kids at school, which was partly why trafficking had succeeded. She'd trusted the wrong person offering to help a homeless teenager. She'd taken risk that ended in death. But this risk was different, calculated, with FBI backing, with purpose, with chance to end threat instead of just delaying it. "I'll be bait," Jake said quietly. "Set the trap. Use me. Use Max. Webb wants to eliminate the problem? Fine, let him try. But let him try where you're waiting, where you can catch him, where this ends instead of just pausing. Because I'm not living in protective custody for months wondering when he'll strike. I'm not letting this define my life the way Emma's loss did. I'm ending this now with your help. Deal?" Chen was silent for a long moment. "Against my better judgment, deal. But we do this my way. Full surveillance, undercover backup. You don't make a move without us knowing. You're not action hero. You're bait with very expensive protection. Understand?" "Understood. When?" "Wednesday. Your regular Sunrise Diner stop. Same time. Same routine. We'll have 20 agents positioned. Webb's been monitoring your movements. We've confirmed surveillance on your truck. He'll see opportunity. He'll take it. We'll take him. It ends Wednesday." Tuesday evening, day before the trap, Jake stopped at Zoe's school, found her at aftercare program, doing homework at a table in the corner where she always sat. He knelt down beside her. "Tomorrow might be dangerous. Detective Chen says Webb is coming for me and Max. They're setting up protection, but..." He didn't know how to explain witness protection protocols to an 11-year-old. "If something happens, nothing will happen." Zoe's voice was fierce, more fierce than her small frame should have been able to produce. "You saved Lily. Now you're going to stop the bad guy who wants to hurt you for it. That's what heroes do. That's what Emma would do." Jake hugged her, quick, awkward, necessary. His arms wrapped around this child who wasn't his daughter, but felt like family anyway. "When did you get so brave?" "I learned from you, and Max, and Emma." She'd never met Emma, but she knew her anyway, through stories Jake told on Wednesday afternoons, through the photo he carried in his wallet, through the grief that had motivated Max's training. Now go be brave back for all of us. Wednesday arrived. Jake pulled into Sunrise Diner with Max, exactly on schedule. Sarah was working. Chen had convinced her that changing patterns would alert Webb, that maintaining normalcy was safer than obvious avoidance. Zoe wasn't there. Chen had insisted some risks weren't worth taking. Jake entered the diner, sat at his usual booth, ordered coffee and pie Max shouldn't share but always got a bite of anyway. Max lay beside him, calm and professional, wearing service vest that had made him hero and target simultaneously. FBI agents were everywhere disguised as truckers, waitresses, customers. 20 guns pointed at empty space where Webb would soon stand. But Webb's focus would be tunnel-visioned on Jake, on Max, on eliminating the problem that had destroyed his trafficking network and sent his partner to federal prison for life. Webb was coming. FBI confirmed visual vehicle in parking lot matching Webb's description, driver fitting profile, approaching on foot, gun visible under jacket, intent clear as daylight. This was it. This was crisis moment. This was climax building since Lily's rescue 3 days ago. This was Jake choosing to confront danger instead of hiding from it. This was Emma's legacy bravery, despite fear, action, despite risk, protection, despite personal cost. Webb walked through door mid-40s, cold eyes that had seen violence and committed more, hand hovering near concealed weapon like a gunfighter in a Western. He scanned diner, identified Jake, started walking toward the booth with purpose that screamed violence about to happen. FBI agents were positioned perfectly, 20 professionals with clear sight lines, clear shots, clear understanding that this man intended murder. But Webb's focus was locked on Jake with intensity that comes from revenge motivation. Henderson, Webb's voice was ice-wrapped in hatred. Your dog cost me everything, cost my partner his freedom, cost our organization millions in revenue, years of infrastructure, connections that can't be rebuilt. That's debt that needs collecting. You and that animal are going to pay right here, right now, in front of witnesses who'll remember what happens to people who interfere with our business. Jake's hand moved to Max's head. Protective gesture, steadying gesture, connection to the dog who'd saved Lily and inadvertently put them both in crosshairs. My dog saved a child. That's not costing you anything that's stopping you from costing her everything. From costing 6 other victims Morrison mentioned, from costing families their daughters the way trafficking cost me Emma. Philosophical. Webb took another step closer. Won't help when what? Jake's voice was steadier than he felt. When you pull that gun, you're surrounded. FBI, 20 agents. You pull that trigger, you don't make it 2 steps. This is over, Webb. Your network is done. Morrison's talking. 12 others are arrested. The phones have been cracked. Safe houses are raided. You're the last domino, and you're about to fall. This is over. Webb's eyes darted, seeing FBI positions for the first time, catching movements he'd missed in his tunnel vision focus on revenge. Seeing the trap he'd walked into, calculating odds, coming up empty, realizing he'd been played. Fuck it. Webb reached for his gun. Didn't complete the draw. 5 FBI agents tackled him simultaneously. Professional, efficient, overwhelming force that neutralized threat before it could materialize. Gun clattered to floor. Webb went down hard, face hitting linoleum, handcuffs clicking into place with finality that meant this was done, over, finished. Marcus Webb, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, making terroristic threats, weapons violations, trafficking conspiracy, and about 20 other federal charges that add up to rest of your life in prison. Just like Morrison, just like every other member of your network we arrested in coordinated raids this morning while you were driving here. Your operation is done. The dog won. Get over it. Webb screamed rage, frustration, defeat as agents dragged him toward patrol car. Chen approached Jake, who was shaking with adrenaline but relieved, processing that immediate threat was over, that calculated risk had paid off, that he'd chosen bravery and survived it. You did good. Used yourself as bait to catch predator who would have kept hunting indefinitely. That's courage. That's also really stupid. Don't do it again. Jake laughed shakily, petting Max, who'd stayed calm through entire confrontation. No promises, but thank you for keeping Max safe, for ending this, for letting me have closure Emma never got. Lily Chen's parents came to the diner that evening bringing Lily, who was recovering physically and starting trauma therapy. Lin Chen was crying. David Chen held his daughter close. How do we thank you? How do we thank Max? Our daughter is alive because your dog wouldn't release a tire, because you trusted him, because you opened that saddlebag when you could have just called police and waited. You saved her, Mr. Henderson. We'll never be able to repay that. Jake knelt beside Lily, gentle and careful, remembering Emma at 7, remembering every year he'd missed watching her grow. You don't thank me. You thank Max. He's the hero. He's the one who detected you, who refused to let Morrison leave, who saved your life because he was trained to do exactly what he did, protect children from people who hurt them. Lily looked at Max with wide eyes. Then, slowly, she reached out and petted his head with small hand that still had red marks from zip ties. Max's tail wagged gentle, patient, understanding somehow that this child needed comfort, needed safety, needed to know that good dogs protected people from bad people. Thank you, Max, Lily whispered. Jake broke down. 5 years of grief. 5 years of wondering if Emma had suffered. 5 years of guilt that he couldn't save his own daughter, all of it released in tears he'd been holding since the day Emma vanished. Max had saved Lily, had given Jake purpose, had transformed Emma's tragedy into protection for other children. Emma, Jake whispered, looking at Max and Lily together, at the living proof that grief could become action, that loss could become protection. I couldn't save you, but I saved her because of you, because you taught me to be brave, because your loss motivated Max's training, because your death led to her life. He wiped tears with shaking hands. One light went out, another stayed on. That's not balance, that's not fair, but that's the mathematics of grief. You subtract until you can't anymore, and then you find something to add instead. I added Max. Max added Lily. You taught me that, Emma, even when you weren't here to teach it, even when I didn't know I was learning. Chen stood beside Jake, hand on his shoulder. Emma would be proud. You transformed personal tragedy into public service. Trained a dog to detect what you couldn't detect. Saved a child you couldn't save before. That's how we honor the dead, by protecting the living. That's Emma's legacy. That's yours. That's what matters. Portland police held ceremony at City Hall 2 weeks later. Chief Williams presented Max with K9 Medal of Valor, typically reserved for police dogs, extended to civilian service dog in recognition of extraordinary action. Max, you demonstrated exceptional detection skills and dedication to protecting vulnerable populations. You identified victims that trained investigators missed. You prevented trafficking that would have devastated family. You triggered investigation that dismantled network and saved multiple lives. That makes you hero. That makes you model for what service dogs can achieve with proper training. Max sat calmly, wearing ceremony vest, accepting medal with dignity that golden retrievers somehow maintained. Jake stood beside him, speaking about Emma, about trauma that had motivated training, about hoping other parents would train service dogs for trafficking detection so more victims could be found. Pacific Service Dogs announced scholarship program thanks to publicity from Lily's rescue. Donations poured in. They'd train 10 trauma detection dogs annually, free of charge for qualifying handlers. The program was named for Emma Henderson, ensuring that her disappearance led to protections for other children. Zoe was there, sitting in front row, having become honorary part of story through her Amber Alert recognition, through her brave words to Jake before the trap. "Can I train dogs, like Max, when I grow up?" "Yes," Jake said, voice full of certainty Emma had taught him. "Yes, you absolutely can. Because we need people who care, who understand why this matters, who do hard work of training dogs to detect horrors they'll hopefully never encounter. But when they do, like Max, did those dogs save lives? That's worth everything." Morrison and Webb received life sentences under federal trafficking statutes. Their network's dismantling led to 43 arrests across 4 states, recovering 17 victims who'd been missing weeks to months. Pacific Service Dogs' Emma Henderson Scholarship trained 60 trauma detection dogs over 5 years. These dogs identified 12 trafficked children, prevented 8 abductions, and assisted in dismantling 14 trafficking operations nationwide. The program became model for law enforcement agencies seeking alternatives to traditional detection methods. Lily recovered, fully underwent therapy, returned to school, maintained contact with Jake and Max through monthly visits. She grew up understanding that Golden Retriever's refusal to release Tyre had been difference between rescue and disappearance. Sometimes service dogs stop traffickers adults ignore. Sometimes tire biting prevents kidnapping. Sometimes Golden Retrievers save children by refusing to let evil leave. And sometimes trusting animal instinct when logic says there's no threat. When evidence suggests overreaction. When questioning seems unreasonable, means recognizing that dogs detect truths humans miss. Jake Henderson learned that training Max had been right choice. That channeling grief into protective action saved life Emma's loss couldn't. That Emma's disappearance through Max's training prevented other disappearances. That tragedy transformed into triumph when determination met preparation, met opportunity. Because that's what heroes do. They train despite hoping training never matters. They trust instinct over convenience. They investigate when easier to ignore. They act as bait when catching predators matters more than personal safety. They save lives by refusing to let evil drive away. Always.